Hello wherever you are, and welcome to radio production class. Today we are going to discuss about radio programming. As you know, all programs in radio, they must be programmed prior to the dissemination of the program to the targeted audiences. That's why as a radio station or as any FM station, they must be having a well-laid protocol of programming or else programming all their content before disseminating this particular content to their targeted audiences. And under radio programming, we are going to talk about stages of producing a radio program, which means there must be systematic stages or else protocols or procedures that you must adhere to indeed if you are to come up with any kind of a radio program. That's why I'm going to discuss about the main stages must always adhere to. The first stage is what we call the pre-production stage. At this particular pre-production stage, this is whereby you come up with an idea of the content you have to disseminate. Probably, maybe you want to come up with a news story, you want to come up with a feature article, can be a radio documentary, can be a radio advertisement. So all these ideas are generated under the pre-production stage. And if you are coming up with the pre-production stage, it must always be determined by the target audiences. Your targeted audiences are going to determine the kind of program you are going to come up with before you happen to disseminate your content or your information to your targeted audiences. You also need to know the slot or the timing of the program, because there's no way you can be disseminating children program and maybe they say at the time of airing that particular content, the children are at school. Or else maybe you have to inform, to communicate with the parents, and you are communicating with them during daytime when all of them are at work. You must identify the most reliable step or the most appropriate time for you to be able to disseminate the content to your targeted audiences. So you need to identify the target audience at this particular pre-production stage. You need to identify the slot or the duration of your program. You also need to know if indeed you are going to encounter any challenges in your production at this particular stage. And even at the pre-production stage, you must know the cost implication of coming up with this particular program. You need to know if indeed you are having all the required equipments that are able to necessitate or ensure that your program becomes effective. After coming up with an idea of what you want to generate, or else what you want to add to your targeted audiences, there is what we call a proposal development stage. Now, a proposal is a blueprint or else a written blueprint of what you want to disseminate or to communicate to your targeted audiences. So you need to come up with a proposal, because your proposal is then you are going to forward it to your producer. If he happens to approve it, then you can go ahead and air the program. But if it is having errors or else your proposal is not appropriate, then your program won't be able to give a time slot in the programming stage. So you need to come up with a proposal, and when you're coming up with a proposal, you need to have the cover page whereby you are coming up with an appropriate cover page explaining the kind of topic you are going to talk about, the duration of your program, and your targeted audiences in that particular program. They need also to talk about the need of this particular program. What has necessitated or what has made you to come up with this particular program? There must be a reason as to why you have come up with this program. Maybe you want to inform the public, you want to entertain them, or else to educate them about a specific thing that is taking place or that is happening in the society or else in the community. For example, maybe you want to notify people about the opening of schools, maybe about the coronavirus pandemic, maybe about the upcoming election. Either way, you must justify that indeed there is a need for this particular program to be aired or to be disseminated to your targeted audiences. Then there is adequacy. Under adequacy, you need to justify that you have all it takes in order to run this particular program. If you are coming up with a program about, let's say, your program is about child abuse, do you have all it takes to come up with this particular program? Do you have the time frame? Do you have the skills? Do you have the equipment that are going to necessitate the achievement or realization of your targeted objective of that particular program? So adequacy justifies the competency of the programmer or the competence of the idea generator that indeed he is able to achieve the purpose or the objective of that particular program. Then it's still an objective. You need to inform us the purpose of this particular program, or is why are you coming up with this program, and why are you having this particular targeted audiences at this particular time, in order to inform them, either to educate them or to entertain them. So you need to tell us the objective of your program in the proposal stage. Then you come up with a synopsis. A synopsis simply means the overview or the summary of the whole of your program. You give us a summary so that you can be able to see the highlights of what you're going to talk about. If you're talking about, let's say, child abuse in the community or in the society, you need to give us to give us the synopsis of what all your program is going to entail. Then you have to include the treatment in your proposal. Treatment simply means how are you going to frame your program? Which sound effects are you going to use to necessitate the program? Because if you are coming up with the sound effect, they must be in comparison or related to the nature of the program you are disseminating. If you are going to use music, for example, in your program, your music must be in liaison with the topic of study or the kind of program, the topic you are discussing or talking about. So treatment is in terms of music that you are going to accompany your program, in terms of sound effect you are going to use to accompany your program, or else any other skills you are going to employ that is going to make your program to be effective or efficient to your targeted audiences. You also need to come up with approximate budget, because all these particular programs, they need equipment, they need finance, they need time, they need people to travel. So you need to come up with estimated budget that probably you are going to use to actualize or to realize the objective of your program. Then all this is under pre-production stage. Now if you have all these things you have already aligned and they're in time frame, whereas you have already arranged all these particular ingredients in your proposal stage, you now go to the production stage. This is the actual time you are now coming up with the program or producing your program to targeted audiences. This is the time now you are cooking your food before you serve it to your customers or to your consumers. So at this particular stage, you need to use all the blueprint that you had. You need always to adhere to the proposal that you came up with, and make sure that your program is in comparison with the script that you came up with in that particular program. Then after you have already recorded your program, you have to go to what is called post-production stage. And this particular post-production stage, this is whereby you identify any errors that you might have included, you might have omitted or committed in the production stage, because at times you can make an error. Maybe you wanted to use a specific song, but you used a wrong song. You are going to edit now. Whereas you wanted to use a specific sound effect, but you ended up with using a different sound effect in your production stage. So under post-production stage, this is whereby you are going to edit any error that you might have committed during the production stage. I hope you are able to understand all these procedures or stages involved in the production of radio content. I hope you'll be able to apply this knowledge in the really life situation. Thank you for your time. Let's meet next time at the same place. Thank you.